Welcome to the Filmistines, the double feature podcast. Join us as we unravel the interwoven experience and continuous conversation of cinema. Take part in pairing movies with their cursed counterparts, movies that share DNA, or even pairing questionable duos by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/Filmistines. We offer tiers at the $1, $5, and $20 level, where the $5 tier will grant the ability to request films to further the discussion. So grab some popcorn, sit back, and get ready to join the 100-year conversation. This is the Filmistines, where movies are more than just entertainment, they're an experience. And welcome back to another episode of the Filmistines. Thank you guys for joining us today. I am joined today by my board friend, Lucy.
Hello, everyone.
You can join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for brand new episodes of the Filmistines. Some recent episodes include Monster, Bottoms, Earth Mama, The Iron Claw, and Perfect Days. Remember to leave nice comments, thoughts, and ideas over on our Patreon at patreon.com/Filmistines, and leave nice reviews over on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, all the places you can leave reviews. Come request a movie, come subscribe. We appreciate all the support. Thank you guys.
Are you stressed and filled with anxiety like I am? Maybe in a bit of pain from that car accident you had a few years ago? Well, the sponsor of today's episode, Hempville CBD, has us covered. They have the highest quality products created by chemists and doctors. Hempville carries everything from CBD to THC dispensary grade without those despicable dispensary prices. Order your Delta 8, 9 edibles and vapes along with the THCA flower and get free shipping when you spend $50 or more at HempvilleCBD.com. Check out the link in the description for more details.
But today we are discussing Jonathan Glazer's new 2023 film, The Zone of Interest. Episodes back, I mentioned the three films I was looking forward to in 2023, and this is the one I did not mention because I'm an idiot. Beau's Afraid, The Iron Claw, and The Zone of Interest. Those were the movies, if anyone was ever curious. I was like, how did I forget this? This was like kind of number one on the right day. And I must say, I am challenged by this movie, right? I like a lot about this movie, but this movie bored the living shit out of me.
Okay.
And I think that's an essential part of the experience because evil, heinous shit that happens in our world is not, Hannibal Lecter or some anime villain, Frieza or something. There's not this fun element to things that are not chaotic. This is a very organized thing. It becomes part of these people's lives deeply. They build up camp all the way around this concentration camp. They live there. They raise families there. So I can't really expect anything more as far as, the theatrics of it all. So it bores me. And so it's sort of challenging to kind of unpack a lot of what's happening. But I know this is your first Jonathan Glazer film. So I'm very curious what you think of this. I called the black screen for 2 minutes, didn't I?
Yeah, basically you said he's known for
prolonged situations, not totally unlike Michael Haneke or something, or David Lynch.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on this movie being boring. It was very, very boring. Too boring. But there were bits and pieces of it that I really liked that don't make me completely hate it. And, I mean, you couldn't have said it better. I don't want to say it had any sort of pacing issues because it seemed completely intentional that he was doing some of these, as I called, artsy-fartsy things on purpose. For what purpose? I don't know. I'm not sure. Part of me thinks maybe I'm not smart enough to figure out why he's doing these things. And if it's just for the sake of making you think about what happened around this time and kind of compare it to now and how shitty human beings can be, then I felt like I already knew that.
Yeah, there's nothing new to learn from this other than unless you were so brainwashed by our tendency to villainize the Nazis in the way we do that you didn't think they also had lives. That would be the only thing I guess you would gain.
Yeah, it's kind of silly because a lot of literature and films that came out about World War II really focused on the victims. So it's different, yes, focusing on the so-called bad guys and letting us know that, okay, they're people too. But I don't know. I have nothing new to say about that.
No, I get that. And I guess the only thing really worth saying about it is the guts that it took for Jonathan Glazer to like take that to a producer and like, all right, it's more than meets the eye, but this is what it's going to kind of look like at first glance.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of guts to do that. I think it's a good example of kind of exercising a story and even on some page frustrating the viewer, because the villains that we root for, the villain oriented people, are like anti-hero things, right? And we usually root for our main characters in movies, video games, whatever, right? So it's just a little kind of challenging in that way, because you can't root for a Nazi, obviously, right? And so, but at the same time, these are people too, and their main characters, they kind of start to fool you that they're just regular folks, and they are for all intents and purposes, because they've become so, it's hard to describe, right? They've become so numb to what they're doing. They've become so nose blind, I guess.
Yeah, they've almost become so comfortable with living like this. Like it is what it is, so why not situation.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's something like, are they even thinking about it? No. His wife, his kids especially, they're not thinking about what's happening at the central part of Auschwitz, right?
Well, I think the dad is definitely thinking about it.
Well, the dad's got a job
So
doing,
yeah.
but the people who are going to school, these teachers and stuff, of course, there may be some kind of propagandistic brainwashing type thing, however you want to look at it, happening in schools, but these kids are just kids.
Well, I think the little girl is thinking about it. At least the one who's staying up at night and the dad has to find her, or the dad really bumps into her. He doesn't have to find her, but
Sure. It's a good point. Yeah. I'd forgotten about that. And then same thing with Hedwig's mom.
right.
She can't take it more than, it felt like 24 hours.
Yes.
Which is awesome to see, because it's really kind of the central theme throughout the movie is this like unspoken weight of it. It's spoken, of course, because Haas's job revolves around running the place, basically. I'm not exactly sure the level of authority he has here, but it seems like he's, if not the big dude, he's, kind of the CFO, COO type thing. So, of course, it's a little bit more on the conversation in his house than probably your lackeys, your grunt type folks, right?
I didn't like the black screen in the beginning, the weird red screen in the middle, the really long, almost photographs of the flowers. I didn't like those. I didn't understand them. I don't know. I'm not creative enough to have understood his point. But he had some really awesome scenes here that I think this is what he was trying to say with those scenes. Like the scene where the mom gets a fur coat and, she makes the maids pick out a shirt. And we know where this clothing came from. We know that it came from the people out there. It came from all the victims. And they don't need these things, so it's the afterthought of I don't know. It's like it's shocking to think about afterwards. On screen, okay, she's just getting clothing. Maybe they can't go out and shop right now. I don't know. She's just getting a fur coat, but then it clicks, and you're like, oh no, that's fucked up that she's getting this dead woman's fur coat and lipstick, and she put it on her lips, and there's something there to be said. I get that. Or the scene where the dad took him to go swimming and he discovers maybe some kind of jawbone or something, and he's like, oh shit, they're pouring the ashes down the river, and he immediately takes his kids home, and everyone's like getting the kids cleaned. He's getting cleaned. We see barely any ashes, but there's the implication there of they had ashes on them, because we see the maid cleaning the bathtub after everyone had washed up, and that's really fucked up too. And I just feel like he has some really powerful scenes here that you don't need the awkward at least to me, long, black screen, red screen, flower shots. They don't draw the same emotion for me.
I think you are hitting on his biggest challenge that he had to overcome and that we have to face, and that is less about what you see and more about what you hear. Because we hear the screaming, the gunshots, the burning, the machinery.
Yep, the scream, yeah.
So it's almost moments where, especially in the very beginning with the black screen, where you shut your eyes kind of thing. Jonathan Glazer is indicating to you that you need to pay attention kind of double time, in two different kind of sections of what's happening here.
It's just so unnecessary because you already have these really slow shots of people doing almost nothing that the black screen is unnecessary. For example, when the mom's just out there laying on the foldable beach chair and she's just out there soaking up the sun. A scene like that would be a lot better than just a black screen. Like that just seems a little too forced. Almost eye-rolling forced.
Yeah, I could see that. I feel like the black screen's much more justified because it's the very first screen.
No, that's the worst. For me, that's the worst. But you could have put it in.
He's setting the stage.
He's setting the stage for me to get up and leave.
But I agree, these very, subdued, low action, very static shots, very inintrusive, almost documentary style, just observation of these people, like her at her little pool, looking at her flowers, whatever. It is so boring and bland that your ears will kind of migrate to screaming and machinery and burning sounds. So I hear that. They didn't bother me they didn't bother me at all, really.
I will say the red one bothered me the most, if I had to pick here. Especially when you had a very beautiful scene where the mom saw red. We already had the red. We already had the interesting shot where everything was burning and the red fire was illuminating into her room that caused her to look outside the day right before she left. We already had that. I don't need the empty red screen.
Yeah, I want to say maybe it's Jonathan Glazer's way of maintaining this unsettling nature, especially with that soundtrack that comes with it. And cinematically, they ultimately just replaced the chapter card. So I'm definitely less bothered by it than you.
Well, speaking about the background noise, I really liked it. That was one of the things I really enjoyed about the movie, hearing the screams in the background, hearing the shootings. And there were several scenes that stuck out to me when this happened, but one of the big ones that stuck out was when the little boy was playing in his room and he heard some soldier was saying something like, "Are you going to do that again? We're going to drown you, blah, blah, blah." And then the little boy peeked out the window and then we infer that he died. They killed him. And then the little boy just comes back to play with his toys. He says something. I don't remember exactly what he said, and I'm a little stuck on that. Maybe I should have rewatched that scene. But he didn't seem disturbed by it. I don't know what he said, but I know he just came back to play. He didn't contemplate at all on what he had just seen. So that's a big scene for me that stuck out with the noise, especially.
It's a nice balance of how common it is versus, the daughter and some others unable to sleep.
Yeah.
Because of it.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a big contrast between his daughter and his son. I like that. And one of these things about all these background noises, it also made me think about how it would smell if I lived there. And that's cool. That's cool that a movie can make me think about another sense that, of course, we can never get in a film. Your olfactory sense. And it was nice because I'm sure it smelled like smoke with rotten meat. And it was as disturbing as those noises were. So I like that. I like that it pushed my not only auditory sense, but my sense of smell, which kind of surprised me.
It's wild because films like this are visual.
Yes.
And this is anything but visual as far as disturbing, shocking things. When you mentioned the color sections, I thought you were going to talk about the like thermal sections with the girl laying out pears. And I wanted to say too that I don't know why everyone is fucking saying apples. Do they not know what a pear looks like? That's all I'm saying.
That's funny. I had no idea what she was putting down, but I imagined a fruit of some kind at least. I didn't even think further into what she was putting down. And then there was a Hansel and Gretel comparison there. So I was less focused on what that was and more focused on why is it not crumbs. So I don't know. I had a weird weird thought there. But yeah, what's up with that? That whole weird side story. I saw someone online comparing it to his daughter and how they were a version of one another. And I did not see that at all.
I mean, it was clearly just the extreme case of this like rot of, holding back. Like tons of people are going to have a problem with this. And this little girl was the extreme case of maybe providing a little hope for the people who found those pears, that food. Because there's really nothing more symbolic of life than providing food. And in turn is, a little bit of hope in living through this for the victims. It's ultimately pointless to, the drama, the domestic drama we have going on, but is that moment of light in the grand scheme of it. And I know Jonathan Glazer included those sections of the film to make it easier to make the film on himself because it was so hard to get through.
He added those sections just because it was hard to get through the production of the movie?
Not just, but yeah, in part.
Then why don't you just take them out? Boom. You fix your production issue.
Well, they are that extreme balance to balance the genocide.
I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I don't think we required a balance here. I think there's enough movies out there to give us that balance of this topic that everyone knows about. Everyone knows about. World War II and Hitler are probably the two most known topics to every person, at least every American. Those are the chapters you focused on the most in school. If you didn't read Number the Stars, you read Anne Frank or some story, if not a lot of stories of World War II. I mean, of course, it's a big thing that happened in our history, so we should be cultured about it. We should know about it. But there's so much out there about it that I didn't feel like we needed his balance here. I liked where he was going with this focus on the other side of it. So it just seemed unnecessary.
It's funny that you say that because I feel like the other side of it, something we don't see a lot, like you're saying, is that some of these kids and family members that are looked at by the rest of the world as just Nazis in general, wives and kids. Yeah, they might live in Nazi camps, they might go to the Nazi school, they might have Nazi parents, but that doesn't necessarily make them Nazi sympathizers.
Right. So
that's the balance. The balance of good and evil within the Nazis.
We already have so much of the other side that we don't need the little inverted girl. That's what I'm saying. We didn't need to add this in here and just make your movie shorter.
To me, though, it is still the essential point of the film that there is good and bad even within like a Nazi outpost, which is crazy that they actually built a settlement around.
I know. That's insane.
That's like crazy sci-fi dystopian stuff. Like that's insane. Like completely insane. But that balance even comes out in at least one specific character, or main character, Haas. And I think that's obviously the point of him going to get a checkup, gagging right after the checkup. And the movie ends, of course, right after that. But it ends on this note that balance transcends even between different parties. It's a negotiation that happens even in the individual who commits the most heinous shit. Because this guy's responsible for murdering like 1 million Jews.
It almost seems like those scenes would hit a lot harder, though, if we took out the hopeful story of that girl with the pears. I think that scene and the scene where the mom leaves the note for Hedwig to find. Because we're getting these glimpses of, they know what they're doing. They know what's going on. They're not over here living the life. I do want to talk about my favorite scene in the movie, which was so fast, so small, but it killed me and I loved it. It was when there were two guys kind of promoting, selling gas chambers and telling him about this new gas chamber that's gonna burn these people here while it's cooling the burnt people on the other one, and how it's just gonna cycle through, and it's amazing. And I was just amazed. I have never seen something so horrific put on a table like this. Put on a like a table, the purchasing table, the let's negotiate this table. And it was disturbing and disgusting and so cool at the same time. And we even got a quick glance of the map, the blueprint. I don't know what it was really, but it was so cool. I loved it. And it was so fast too. But that was probably my favorite scene. You want to talk about eerie? That's eerie. That's the fucked up human nature that I want to see.
Yeah, coming off of them having a family picnic at the river, not knowing they're Nazis yet. And then we see their house and everything, and then, those guys come in to show him. It's just like, it escalates just the commonplace of it all in the most boring, awesome way.
Do you think that scene is one of those like Lynchian moments that I guess people like to say he has in his films?
Yeah, it's kind of funny to say that, because normally a Lynchian thing is a very moment thing. It's very quick and like, that was weird,
yeah,
kind of thing. But I think the big Lynchian thing here is the two sides of the wall, where they live, and then what the shit we hear on the other side of the wall. That's the
Okay.
big Lynchian thing here. It's the literal depiction of normality next to beyond macabre,
Yeah.
It's like so insane that, that they live right next to this, that it's almost a transcended form of Lynchian. It's like, I don't even know really what to say. It's completely dumbfounding that they'd even think that was okay for their own people. Like, it's sanitary in a funny way, because, they hang out in the river and they're putting the ash of people in the river, and, bones and teeth are floating down the river. It's like, what? Why do they even live around this?
And they're putting the ashes in the flower beds.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Which is genius, really, but it's crazy. Crazy. And that's another great micro example of Lynchianism. They're making something beautiful and creating life with death.
Oh my god.
And normally we use animal shit, but I guess this works too.
Human remains.
It's wild.
Same thing. Yeah. It's what trips me up about this movie, because I want to shit talk it because it bored me. I don't like being bored. I'm a very ADHD person. I can't sit still for more than 2 seconds without wanting to get up and do something.
Yeah.
So I don't like experiencing boredom. But at the same time, there were some really good things here. It's like the lows were way too fucking low for me and the highs were way too high. So, yeah, I think you said it so well at the beginning. You were confused.
It's a challenging film.
Yeah, the time of watching it, I didn't feel challenged. It wasn't until after I was thinking about, okay, well, what did I like? And I knew I liked that gas chamber scene a lot. Then I thought about some of the other elements I liked, but I know I didn't like the movie. Like, it was so confusing for me, for sure. And I knew nothing about this movie coming into it. Absolutely nothing. I didn't know it was even focused on this family, let alone the genre. Was it horror? Was it a drama? Was it whatever? So there was a scene when the dad's and I think we briefly mentioned it. There was a scene where the dad is walking around, turning off all the lights, and then his daughter's randomly in the corner. I thought it was going to turn into a horror film, because that was disturbing to watch. Probably one of the main reasons I will never have kids, because I do not want to experience walking around the house, turning off lights, and then having a random kid in a corner somewhere. I'm not about to do that. No. I'd poop my pants if I saw that. So I really thought it was going to turn to horror, but it didn't. It was still eerie, though.
It's funny to like that scene because I feel like that and the black screen at the very front of the movie are kind of in two peas in a pod. They're very quick and jarring.
There was nothing quick about that beginning.
And they help set the stage for not everything is as it seems.
I'll tell you what, I'll give it more thought on that beginning because I really did not like it. I didn't feel the tension I'm supposed to feel or the listen to what's actually going on in the background and not watch what's going on. I was just annoyed. Like, hurry the fuck up. Entertain me.
It's your millennial brain.
Yeah, it was
coming out.
Yes, it really was at that time. Like, that's not how you introduce me to a movie. I'm sorry, that's just me. That's not how you do it. Put that shit in the middle when you've already got me. I don't know. But I'll keep an open mind. I'll think about it more.
Yeah, some directors require more of you. We've learned, right?
That's true.
And Jonathan Glazer is definitely one of them. I don't love most of his movies. He's only got 4, but Sexy Beast is a awesome movie. It's one of my favorite movies. And he did Birth, and of course, his most famous work is probably Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson. But sort of like Perfect Days, his movies are not family night movies. They are maybe alone time movies where you just need to sit and meditate on the film while watching, of course, but take 30 minutes and think about everything you just saw and heard. Him and Michael Haneke are kind of cut from the same cloth in my head in that way.
Yeah, which I love Funny Games. I love that movie. Just something here that just bored me too much.
That's got to be so challenging for a filmmaker to intentionally bore to sell a message.
Yeah, you definitely need to have your vision set in stone, and you need to have the balls to do it. Just do it. Most of the reviews I saw were pretty positive.
Why? What'd they say?
They just loved his message, loved what he had to say. They loved the sound, calling it a masterpiece. But I didn't see too many reviews, so I'm not sure what the general consensus is. I will give a shout out to the cinematography. I think this movie looked pretty good. We didn't really have an old-timey feel to the movie like we typically would for a World War II movie. So I like that. I like the color scheme, the lighting we had here a lot.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah.
Very flat and static and real. Like, even the dolly shots were real stable and cool. It's very cool. It felt very mechanical or something.
Yes.
Kind of Wes Anderson-y a little bit too.
Yes. That's a good way to put it. I liked it. And I also liked the house itself, the set designs. We didn't have too many props here, but everything we worked with, I really liked. I liked the greenhouse. I liked their pool. Didn't care too much for the flowers, but, that was really well done. And the performances were good. We have another Sandra Healer, and I feel like her performance here is a lot better than Anatomy of a Fall. But I liked her here too. She was good. It seems like she's good at having those roles where she just has to live. She has to do daily activities and just be chill. I don't know. So that's cool. She doesn't need to have these really performative pieces to show her skills. So I like that.
Yeah, and it definitely helps tie in with the boring nature because the performances are very underplayed. If they weren't careful, they might let too much personality out.
Yeah.
Because we probably get the most out of Hedwig when they're in bed in the very beginning where she wants to go on vacation again.
And they're laughing and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and when she's hanging out with her girlfriends too. You know, very domestic, boring shit.
So I guess the last thing I want to talk about is the end. And that's maybe my second favorite part of this movie. And a very stark contrast to the beginning. I love the ending. The ending was, oh my gosh, it was so good. It was modern time, people cleaning up the gas chambers. Was that Auschwitz? I think
Yeah.
it was. And them just cleaning it up. And how just this very insane, disastrous, horrible moment in history, we turned it into a tour. And there's people that clean that every day, and like it's nothing. This bitch is over here wiping the gas chamber, like the literal place where they put them and shove them into the fire and burn them with Lysol. There was something so eerie about that I also enjoyed.
Yeah, and it's beautifully balanced with him gagging. There's like a multi-layer balance here of his body reacting to the atrocities while, of course his mind is in work mode, like we previously saw where he was at the party and all he could think about was how difficult it would be to gas all these people because of how tall the ceilings were. He's work, right? But this weight comes crashing down on him, which when we see that scene in modern times makes him petting the dog and him going to get a checkup because he doesn't feel well makes sense because his humanity is coming out in these small ways and stuff. You can't button yourself up forever unless you're a psychopath, which by all measures this man was very normal apparently. So yeah, we see him choke or gag, I should say, right?
Like a retching.
Yeah. And then, we get that flash to modern times, of course, indicating to him of just all of these people who are, about to perish. This is half of his life's work that's about to perish, actually. 400,000 or so folks, right? And it's hitting him, right? While at the same time it's hitting us, that there's still this eerie normality that comes with the very place that normalized evils. Of course, those people cleaning and keeping up this memoriam can't let the history of where they work affect them on the daily, right? That's insane. That's not possible. You just become numb to everything around you at some point. It's human nature. And they're not guilty of anything. That's not what I'm saying. But it's just, I guess, a funny thing at the end of the day that it becomes so mundane. And then we're jetted back to, him gagging.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I forgot that he kind of like looked away into the hallway, like we're looking into the future. I forgot that happened, and then we look back. Yeah, and I guess the most disturbing part of it all is just that we kept that. We kept all of those shoes, all those purses, all those pajamas, and we framed them, and now we can go look at them.
Which is awesome, because on some level we should be reminded.
But it's almost lost that.
Exactly. Especially as it becomes older and older history.
Yeah, I mean, we have weirdos out there that don't believe it happened. Almost as weird as the weirdos that don't believe that dinosaurs existed. I enjoyed the last part of the movie so much that it left me even more confused.
Why are you confused?
I'm confused on whether I like this movie or not. That's where my confusion lies.
It's the definition of a challenging film. It really is. I would love to hear Jonathan Glazer selling this movie to producers to get this money. I don't know how you get this ball rolling. It's pretty incredible from a production standpoint, no doubt. And then the production itself is obviously masterclassed.
Yeah, he definitely has something here. Would I give it a second rewatch? I don't think so. I don't think I'm up for that. But maybe thinking more about what he's trying to say and what he's trying to say about us as a society and as human beings. Because that moment of jumping back into modern time, he's definitely saying something very powerful.
Maybe he's saying a little bit of Haas's dying wishes, in that by the time Haas was detained and executed, he had reflected on all he'd done and his comrades had done, and he hoped future humanities would make something like this impossible to do again.
Yeah, for it to never happen again. I like that.
All right, man. Well, thank you for that talk and watching this movie with me.
You're very welcome.
Do you have a budget guess for me?
I had no idea where to put this budget, so I went with 50 million.
That's a lot of money, but it says here that it was 15 million.
15? Wow. That's pretty impressive. There weren't too many moving parts, but I don't know, it just looked so well that it looked like high dollar to me. Good job, Jonathan Glazer.
It apparently went on to make about 16.1 million. So.
Oh, okay.
And according to Letterboxd, with 260,000 people, they're weighing in at a 4.0.
4.0? Are we just giving every movie in 2023 4s?
Yes. Great year for movies.
Yeah, I definitely didn't rate it that high. I give it a 2.5.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards a 3, but it's kind of a complicated movie to place. I have similar feelings as Killers of the Flower Moon, where it's just an amazing production for different reasons, of course.
Yeah, my 2.5 could change. It could even go up to a 3.5. I don't know. I'm there with you that it was very hard to place, especially with the very high highs, especially with some of the parts that I really loved about this movie. If I could just take those parts and have, I don't know, some kind of compilation video, that wouldn't really make sense, but that would make it like a 4.5 for me. But the lows are too low. I was too bored.
That's a funny thing. But yeah, thank you guys for listening to this episode. Remember, we post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday over on patreon.com/filmscience, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, all the goods. Thank you guys for all your support. Remember to leave nice comments, thoughts, and ideas. Go request a movie. Good movies only, please. Come subscribe. But until next time, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Filmsteins. Thanks for tuning in and joining us on our cinematic journey. We hope you enjoyed the discussion and gained some new insights and perspectives on the world of movies. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform, especially Patreon at patreon.com/Filmsteins, and follow us on social media for more film-related content. We love hearing from our listeners, so if you have any feedback, suggestions, movie recommendations, or book recommendations, please feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, keep watching and keep loving the magic of movies. This is the Filmsteins, signing off.